It is possible to code while you're live on TikTok if you know how to code. So experienced engineers can vibe code and actually read code and process what they're building and build competent applications. If you aren't an experienced engineer, it's still going to be difficult to process what is changing, and the amount of code that you can prompt into existence can quickly balloon. Something that I did in 2024 and 2025 was code live on TikTok and try to maintain a conversation with the chat, and that was pretty decent exercise. With that practice, I've been able to juggle between multiple different threads of conversations and focus on details and consider the voice behind who was saying what. And I've also been practicing this on Twitter, X, practicing just scrolling through and processing the voice and considering the context of the content that I see. I believe it's going to be more common to have conversations with people live and try to prompt things into existence while you can both observe how do I say this? While you're both observing a common frame, prompting things into existence based on contexts of consideration. Because of this, I've published a workbench on my GitHub that you can clone and install to new projects and wonder about with a language model. The idea here is that we still do need to wonder about things, and we do still need to have landmarks that we can reference in common. Because if we don't share wonder, it's going to be more difficult for us to care about what we're building in common. The workbench is one example of a codebase that could be shared or referenced in common, and generally, I don't think that we should make it a requirement that we clone others' repositories and ask our language models about them. But we can host repositories on GitHub and create contexts where we feel comfortable asking a language model to expand on the details. And this can also be a novel distribution mechanism for storytelling. There are millions of developers who are experienced with navigating version control, and it is possible to use version control to tell stories. With that, context should be minded, and media literacy should be minded, responsible, mindful media production, etc. So with the domains rpgwednesday.shop and trope.wiki, I'm curious to explore with my team what these might mean. They don't have content currently, and I honestly don't remember if I mentioned them at the start of this video. So I'm probably going to need to read through the captions of this video, and in doing so, I will think about how these domains could be useful for team building or developing the concept of RPG Wednesday in public. Because I have built e-commerce experiences, and it is possible to prompt for e-commerce experiences with language models. So now that we know that that's possible, who cares? If I'm trying to get hired and I'm describing that this concept exists and it is a real thing that I'm developing, and I post these videos when I think about the day and the ways the work that I've done can be communicated to, well, hundreds of people see my videos per day, and I have a couple of teams that have a couple dozen people, and at any given time, I assume that 5 people per team of dozens are motivated. I hope that I describe motivation, and I describe the reasons why I'm building, and the things that I look forward to, and the way that we can relate to the world that we're developing. So the concept is rpgwednesday.shop can be a place where people can mount generations, and that might be a medium where we can share the concept of commerce in an RPG setting. And I'm curious to have conversations with ChatGPT about how TikTok can be a public medium and which dimensions of reality mapping we should mind. And with trope.wiki as a trophy board, a way to discover tropes per character and create scenes and reasons to explore them with RPG Wednesday, I think tying those together can work out pretty well. And a thought is tealstripesvibes.com has a zine, and tealstripesvibes.org can be useful for team organization. And I also have a site called texture.website that I can use to seed textures for Teal Stripes Vibes. So this is closing out RPG Wednesday. This is the RPG Wednesday before Pi Day, which is the main holiday of lore.land. So there will likely be an update on lore.land for Pi Day and the episodes that have been mentioned on the lore.land TikTok. So check out the TikTok for lore.land, check out the website, stay tuned for updates on the 13th, because in my ecosystem, the 13th and 26th are release days every month. You can join my Discord. Music was released today. And there's old art, there's old music. There are threads that people will likely continue. Next Wednesday, I plan on streaming on Discord and TikTok concurrently, like I did today. Because trope.wiki has been announced, now that can be a mechanic that we share for RPG Wednesday progression. Which also means I'm going to be curious to watch shows throughout the week that have tropes, and I'll be curious to read stories that have mechanics or gameplay, etc. for RPG Wednesday. So if you can, send me things that you think have tropes that can be playable, and send me advice for game, how do I say that? Being a dungeon master. Let me know which sites you're interested in, and let me know if you are a developer. Let me know if you are a developer, designer, or a person who works in modern education in the context of networking and eventually looking for work, or eventually working on the same team. If I've already worked with you on TikTok, then it's likely I will be able to consider you when I'm having conversations about building new teams in the future. I'm primarily focused on authors and developers. I generally know which authors I want to reach out to first. If you're an author and you're looking for technical roles, you can reach out to me. I think tech leaders need to have conversations. I think technical leadership needs to use the media that the people who they want to work with tend to use to explore creative expression. I'm inviting tech leaders to practice making videos and going live and having conversations with other people who do as well. And the reason, partially pragmatically, is because you can summarize the videos. You can post these to Gemini and have Gemini describe to your team what happened during that day. And if you do this once per week, then you can actually build a decent amount of momentum. And on the other side, actually having relationships with people who interact with technology can clarify what people actually want to do with technology. When I go live on TikTok, I notice that I don't use every single feature, and some features I appreciate, and some features I appreciate once in a while. Some features I thought that I would use more and appreciate that Discord offers as well. Over the past couple of years, I've seen hundreds of people navigate a similar interface. So when I consider the interfaces that I design and how I want to describe the relationship to data and scale and meaning for roles that ask me about how I connect between systems and relate to intent, etc. Make videos about how you relate to the reasons why you relate to these media. Also make silly ones. I'm hoping that tomorrow I can find some time to just make some sounds. Have a good night, buds. Cheers.